Leave the seals. I used to think minds were too busy being careful to be haunted. Checklists for breakfast, brass tags for every head underground, air that has to be pushed and pulled like it owes rent. I'm 25, a third shift belt mechanic at a drift mine that once pretended to be modern and now remembers it as old. My job is simple: keep the conveyors honest, swap bearings before they scream, test gas at the faces, and never touch a seal without a supervisor and daylight. 2 more rules from our fire boss: owe a drop in Dole Rourke, Don to follow knocks in the ribs, and Don to go down old workings no matter how short the cut. He laughed when he said it. The laugh didn't stick. By 10:58 p.m., the lamp room had that battery smell, and the ritual calm. I clipped my brass tag on the board, checked my self-rescuer, and grabbed a cap lamp that had seen more nights than I had. The tag printer chattered and spat an extra strip I didn't. T request: do not unseal. No job number, no panel. Along the edge, microscopic gray. That wasn't our time. 3:13 am. I stuck the strip inside my glove because paper feels like a rule you can hold. We rattled down the slope in the man-trip, 3 of us and a box of idlers. Air getting colder, then warmer the way minds do when they remember where their lungs are. At Section 7, the ox fan groaned alive, curtain-herded air like a shepherd, and the rib chalk from day shift still had jokes in it. I checked methane at the feeder, 0.1, breathing like a polite number, and swung the take up a hair to keep the belt from riding. That, as when 2 knuckles, tapped the block seal 30 feet back from the feeder. Not a slate pop, not a bolt ping. Knuckles, measured. You hear that? Jake asked without turning. Snap, I said, the word we use to stop and listen. The seal sat square, cinder block and foam, tag that said built, month, year, man door lagged and locked. Somewhere behind it, the mine phone rang once and didn't ring again. Our radios hissed, thought about a sentence, and a careful voice came through like each word was being lowered into place with 2 fingers. Don tube, open. Not O'Rourke, not anyone I knew. We went back to being useful. Bearings don't grease themselves, and conveyors can turn a good thought into confetti on a dare. In the dust on the take-up guard, someone had traced 5 long ovals and a round heel like a handprint, then dragged it an inch. You see all kinds of marks down here. You don't see that one. Past midnight, the mine decided to be one sound, not quieter. Aligned. The main fans throbbed the same beat as the belt drives. The trickle of water in the ditch matched the transformer hum. In that held chord, the intake stoppings shivered like a sleeper scratching, and the man door at the seal eased a hair against its dogs and settled. My cap lamp lens fogged from the propeller inside, in 5 ovals and a heel before it cleared. I wiped it with a glove I didn't want to look at. The phone on the trolley line crackled. 7 section. Go ahead, I said. Static that tasted like pennies. Then the same patience, close to the mic. Leave. It sealed. The handset felt colder than the air, like a pipe outside in February. At 12:19, the tag board at the fresh air base showed 1 more brass number underground than we had faces for. The board does that sometimes when someone forgets to flip. But tonight, the extra tag was mine. Twice. 1 where I left it, 1 where it shouldn't be. The deputy at base texted a photo. I texted back. Printers drunk because jokes are talismans. I went to check the belt deduster. The curtain sucked at my shoulders like a needy thing. Behind the seal, 2 taps again, polite. The gas detector bumped 2/10 on oxygen for 1 second, like the air beyond had borrowed some of ours and given it back wrong. I took a step toward the man door, and my boot slid the smallest bit on stone dust. A streak of moisture cut under the foam at ankle height. "Condenser," Jake muttered, and scuffed it out of existence without looking at me. We split to chase squeals. Jake down the tail, Luis to the breaker, me to the tramp magnet. The old roof over the belt gave back small, honest drips. My lamp found a line of chalk crosses that weren't ours a foot off the rib, and then at shoulder height, then at a height that makes no sense, unless someone was standing on a bucket in air that didn't belong to them. At 12:41, the seal phone called us. Phones behind seals don't ring. The tone was wrong. Slow, patient, 3 notes stretched like a mouth learning music. I picked up anyway because habits are always honest. Breath on the other end, a whisper of water, and my name in my voice. The way I sell calm to people who want to panic. Then, "Don't go down." The only down from here is the dip into the old long wall gob and the manway into a seam the maps forgot nicely. O'Rourke rolled through on a buggy with the safety pack and a face that counts nights on other people. "You boys minding rules," he said, and then saw the damp around the seal. He set the pack down like a relic, put his palm flat on the block, and waited. The block was cool and polite, and said nothing he was willing to repeat. "We'll check it in the morning," he said, which is both policy and prayer. Don't touch. Don't knock back. The belt slipped a load. The motor sighed. I pulled the take up a notch and watched the RPM remember itself. The feeder clicked, and then, for one frame of the night, all the indicator lights on the starter blinked 3:13. In a way they didn't have room for. The PLC cleared its throat and pretended to be a ladder again. At 1:06, the curtain by the old travelway lifted at the bottom, like a cat testing a door. Air kissed my shins. The ribs whispered in that slate-on-slate voice that isn't language, and sometimes thinks it is. I stamped the edge of the curtain back into the mud and told it. Closed out loud. Something beyond. Tapped twice. Patient as punctuation. Luis radioed from the breaker. "Man, you seen this?" His camera feed showed the seal at 7 from the side. Our helmets, our breaths, and between the blocks at head height, a fog oval, pushing through like a palm that didn't have to understand stone. It held, slid an inch, and disappeared like someone on the other side had learned about gravity a second late. Rourke is the kind of man who can make a mine do what it is told by shifting his weight. He made us stand back 10 yards and talk about stupid things. Ball scores, a local that closed, a lunch pail that never got washed, until the air felt less interested. The radio on his shoulder hissed a little prayer. "Leave. It sealed." He didn't say he'd heard it. At 1:41, we ran the belt again, this time with the world keeping better time. The knock underfoot followed us down the line. Tap, tap. 2 ties behind. Tap, tap. A tie ahead, as if something practicing, following my door, needed to hear itself do it. I flicked my lamp sideways at the rib and caught in the glitter of fines a suggestion of a head, half a beat behind my shadow turned toward my neck mouth, parted like it had reached the first half of "don't." When the time finally turned into the hour it had promised all night, I felt it before I looked. 3:13, because some hours volunteer for jobs flickered in the corner of my gas detector, while the actual display stared back with, "All right, 1:59. The belt drives, and the fan and the dripping all kiss the same beat for a count of 8. And then the mine remembered it's 100,000 moving parts, pretending not to move. We rode the man trip out as the section exhaled. The slope felt like a throat swallowing someone else's words. In the lamp room, the tag printer had spat another strip into the tray by itself. Leave the seals. The edge was damp as if the letters had sweated. I took off my cap lamp and watched fog bloom inside the lens. 5 ovals and a heel, and Tauber slide, an inch like a little ritual that didn't need me. Topside dawn made the tipple look like a model of itself. O'Rourke signed the book and stared at the board where my brass tag still hung twice, once in the lane where ID left it, and once in a lane with a number we don't use anymore. "Printer's old," he said, "because bosses keep that spell for nights they didn't see. We'll take a methane, a pressure, heat the plugs at daylight, and call it good." He put his palm flat on the seal paperwork as if testing its temperature. "You did right not touching." They drilled ports at 10 and read their numbers and nodded in the way men do when the data tells a story they prefer. The seal stayed a seal. The old workings stayed a wrong direction. A week later, they poured foam in hairline places that made supervisors sleep easier. I swapped to days a month later and told people it was for my circadian rhythm. Nights at home, the radiator in my apartment sometimes knocks twice, like a rip practicing manners, and my phone flips to 3:13. And back when I'm not looking straight at it, the bathroom mirror fogs a thumb's width higher than my breath, and a palm clears a circle from the wrong side, and a slides. An inch before the glass decides it S-board. When that happens, I keep my hands off the doors I can't name and say in the steady voice the mind taught me, "Leave it sealed." For a long, thin moment, the room breathes in one note. Like a drift on third shift, a head leans near my left ear and practices the first half of Donna-ta. And then the pipes remember water, the hour, lets go of its name, and whatever was learning my footsteps a half beat behind me chooses somebody else's old workings and lets me pass.
If you survived this far, leave your like to prove you are not afraid.